Danielle Belen, am I saying your name properly?
You are, absolutely,
Good.
perfectly.
Good. Welcome. Nice to have you with us.
I'm so glad to be here.
Right. Now, you're currently on the faculty of the Colburn School of Music in Los Angeles. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from and when you began playing the violin and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm actually a California girl, born and raised there. I went to USC, University of Southern California, where I studied with Robert Lipset, the violin teacher there and one of the great teachers in the world. While I was there, I started to develop a deep interest in teaching. And I had a couple of students while I was in college, one of them who, just as I was graduating USC, she was accepted into USC.
Oh.
And so I was very proud of that and motivated to continue my teaching. And Mr. Lipset really has fostered it over the years. And now at the Colburn School, I am his assistant in the conservatory, and I also have my own studio in the pre-college program and the academy. I have a studio of about 12 or 13 students that are very serious young violinists, aspiring violinists from the ages of 10 all the way up to 19.
And you also have a summer camp, which you founded and which you run. Tell us about that.
I do. It's called Center Stage Strings. It is located in Three Rivers, California, right at the foot of the Sequoia National Park. It's a beautiful town. It's full of amazing people. Many of them have relocated there from Los Angeles. So we have a lot of doctors and lawyers and artists and filmmakers and very artistic people in this tiny town of only 3,000 people who come out and support us. I bring about 30 students from all around the country, ages 10 to 19, and they come together. It's you could call it kind of a practice camp. It's the type of camp modeled after the tradition of like Meadowmount and Encore, where it focuses on solo music and chamber music.
Right.
We don't have orchestra, and it allows the students to really focus on individual aspects of their playing. And a lot of times in 3 weeks at a camp like this, you can improve more than you did during the school year, the entire school year,
right,
because you're able to focus within. And we have a wonderful faculty of young artist teachers like myself who both perform and teach very seriously, and we're very passionate about what we do. So I'm building my program at Center Stage Strings. We're going into our 5th year.
Fantastic.
And it's a wonderful place to come and visit as well, Three Rivers, and see our concerts. We have a packed house.
Right. Well, you know, Danielle, let me ask you this, and I will say for the benefit of the radio audience which can't see you, that you are very young and you have a career as a performer. So, you know, one might think that, well, you might be focusing more on your performing career at your age. A lot of musicians turn to teaching later in life.
Yes.
What is this passion for teaching? What is it that it gives you?
I'm glad you asked that. It gives me a lot. It inspires me to work harder, actually, as a performer, because I demand a lot of my students, and I better practice what I preach. So it is a constant inspiration to me. The level of students that I work with is beyond the norm. I have access to incredibly gifted and hardworking and passionate young students, and they keep me young. I think they will always keep me young. And I've always been very interested in the nuts and bolts of violin playing, what it is to master the violin on a very technical level in order to express what you're trying to express musically. You have to have all of your technique in place. It can't really go the other way around, unfortunately. So since a young age, I've always been fascinated by it. I would consider myself a little bit of a late bloomer, even though I started when I was 5. It really wasn't until I was in my late teens and I began studying with Mr. Lipset at the Colburn School that I really learned how to play the violin.
Yes.
And many people say that, but for me it was very, very true. And when I began to understand more and more the nuts and bolts of how to make a beautiful sound on the violin, I became fascinated with it, and I wanted to share it with other people who I saw were struggling They had music within them, but they were struggling to express themselves because of technical barriers. So to me, it's fascinating, and so far, I don't ever get tired of teaching. And as I said, it helps me as a performer as well.
Right. You know, it's very interesting. We had a program on the air a couple of weeks ago with Henry Fogel, who used to head the Chicago Symphony and then the American Orchestra League, and he was talking about David Oistrakh, and he was playing some shorter pieces, like the introduction of Rondo Capriccioso that you're going to play of Saint-Saëns. And he said, you know, it's such a shame that no orchestras program these pieces anymore. And if he were in the room, I would have raised my hand and said, excuse me, the Eugene Symphony is doing that very piece in the Ravel Tzigane with you. Tell me about this choice of 2 short pieces instead of yet another standard concerto.
Yeah, well, these are 2 of the great violin showpieces. They show everything that the violin can do. And as a teacher, I really appreciate that and the level of difficulty of these pieces, and also how well written they are musically. I mean, they're truly gems. You will come away with themes in your head. I think there's a lot to be said of playing short pieces for audiences, not because they have short attention spans, but just because it allows you to have more diversity. When you play one concerto, you have one composer that you're exploring. When you play shorter pieces, you're able to sort of program a menu of different colors and ideas and characters. And Tzigane and Introduction and Rondo Capriccioso have some similarities. They're both written by French composers, showcasing the virtuosity of the violin. But on the other hand, they're very different from each other. Tzigane, of course, is fascinating because the soloist walks out on stage and plays by themselves for the first 4 minutes of the piece. There is no orchestra. Which is a little bit scary, I must admit. I did it last weekend, actually, with the Burbank Philharmonic in Los Angeles, and the audience loved the pieces.
Oh, they're so exciting!
Yes, they're very exciting. They're very rhythmically driven. They're also a little bit different types of pieces for those particular composers to be composing. Of course, Saint-Saëns is famous for his large-scale works, like his organ symphony.
Which I'm playing right now while I'm interviewing you.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, great. So, and Ravel, of course, is probably most famous for his Bolero, but also other works that are a little more... shall we say, I don't want to say lighter pieces, but the Tzigane is certainly the most devilish kind of music I've heard of Ravel.
Yes.
Right off the bat.
Right.
It starts with...
Yeah. Well, I'm really
passion.
looking forward to hearing both those pieces. So let me ask you, in closing, Danielle, and perhaps if we have some young violinists listening, they at least will get a few tips from you while you're in town. What kind of practice regimen do you adhere to?
Oh, well, I have a very busy life now, and as you know, I teach a lot. So when I practice, every minute counts. In fact, every second counts. I don't allow myself to waste any time just kind of enjoying myself playing. I'm not to say I don't enjoy myself practicing, but I make sure that it truly is work when I'm building my pieces in preparation for a performance. It is putting the pieces together, going right to the problem spots, but also, in addition to doing that slow kind of detail work, you have to be running the piece. You have to be playing it in front of other people. I constantly am setting up little mock performances for myself and my students to get ready for larger scale performances.
Really? Yeah.
So...
Sort of putting it out there, putting it out into the ether and seeing what happens.
Your time is very valuable in the practice room. You should practice as if you're on stage in front of thousands of people. That way, when you get on stage in front of thousands of people, you can relax because you've already done it in the practice room.
Danielle Belen, pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.